नमस्ते। हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया। My name is Manisha Singh, Assistant Professor in Faculty of Agriculture and Veterinary Sciences under Department Food and Biotechnology in Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. Uh, I am teaching you subject fruits and vegetable processing technology for class BSc FND fourth semester and BTech MTech FBT fourth semester. In our previous session, I had discussed about the desirable characteristics of fruits and vegetables during processing. And in today's session, we will discuss about the post-harvest uh, treatments to enhance the shelf life of fruits and vegetable, its transportation and storage conditions. So let's start the topic. First of all, reduction of losses during the transport. The risk of deterioration to produce during transport can be reduced in several ways. Trucks are used to transport the fresh produce. Most fresh produce is now moved in road vehicles. With lesser amounts of sea, air, or inland waterways, the vehicles in most common use are open pickups or bigger trucks, either open or enclosed. The use of road vehicles is likely to increase, so users should give attention to the following. The closed vehicles without refrigeration should not be used to carry fresh produce, except on very short journeys, such as local deliveries from farmers or wholesalers to nearby retailers. Open-sided or half-boarded trucks can be fitted with a roof on a frame. The open sides can be fitted with canvas curtains, which can be rolled up or moved aside in sections to allow loading or unloading at any point around the vehicle. Such curtains can protect the produce from the elements that still allow the ventilation, while where pilfering is a problem. The sides and rear of the truck must be enclosed in a wire mesh. A second white painted roof can be fixed as a radiation shield 8 or 10 centimeter above the main roof. This will reflect the sun's heat and help to keep produce cool. For the ventilation of long distance vehicles, more elaborate air intakes can be fitted in a conjunction with lowers to ensure a positive airflow through the load. Okay, so refrigerated trucks or road, rail or sea containers may be used for long journeys, but cost of such transport makes it uneconomical for small scale operations. So then handling and storage practices. Although the shape and condition of trucks are important factors in the fresh produce transportation, the loading and stowing methods in vehicles are pertinent to damage and loss. The best loading factors must be achieved, that it is the maximum load that can be carried economically under satisfactory technical conditions. A stable and well ventilated load. The size and design of packages should give adequate level of ventilation of contents with the minimum of wasted space. The packages should be strong enough to protect the contents. Loading and unloading of vehicles should be properly supervised to prevent careless handling of packages. Loading aids such as trolleys, roller conveyors, pallet, or forklift trucks should be used where possible to reduce the handling of individual packages. Storage should be carefully done to avoid collapse of the store during transport. Packages should not be stacked higher than the maximum recommended by the maker. Otherwise, the bottom layers may collapse under the weight of the above. So package produce should be protected from the sun and the rain at all the times, including during loading and unloading. Packages should be loaded or on dunnage on the beds of the vehicles or on pallets in order to allow the circulation of air around stacks during transport. If the load is to be distributed to several locations, packages should be loaded in reverse order to that in which they will be unloaded. That is, last on, first off at the same time, the load should be distributed evenly on the vehicle. Although every care must be taken to observe all the above precautions, the standards of driving remain a difficult problem to overcome. In many cases, drivers are induced to speed in order to make more money for themselves on their employers. Whenever possible, only experienced and responsible drivers should be employed. Other modes of transports are like fresh produce is transported by other means from headloads to air freighting. In all cases, the same conditions should be observed. Produce must be kept as a cool as possible, kept dry, moved to market as quickly as possible. Then rail transport. In some countries, a large amount of produce is carried by the rail. The advantages of rail transport is transport damage to produce while moving is slight as compared with that from haulage over rough roads, and costs are lower than transport by road. Rail transport, however, requires extra handling since road transport is needed to and from the rail journey. Transport by road alone usually is a door-to-door service. Then water transport. Inland waterways transport is used in some countries to move produce to markets. Much of the produce carried in this way is packed in locally made crates or sacks. The vessels employed are often mixed passenger cargo craft, and no special handling is provided for the fresh produce. C. Short distance transport of fresh produce in small ships without refrigeration is very common in countries of island communities. Example is the Philippines. Okay, ships often accommodate passengers and general cargo, and no special provision is made for fresh produce, which may be stored in unventilated holds. Losses are high owing to rough handling by the porters, inadequate packaging, and overheating is unventilated holds or near engine room. There is much room for improvement in this mode of transport. A model for organized and efficient sea transport is the refrigerated shipment of commercial crops such as bananas. And although a modest investment by the small scale shipper could greatly improve the performance. Next is air freight. As with shipping, the international trade is the air freighting of high value exotic crops is generally well organized. In some countries where road links are poor, produce is carried by the air from production areas to urban markets. Okay, so costs are high, often losses often heavy because of poor and non-standard packages, careless handling and exposure to the elements at airports, consignments left behind in favor of passengers, flight delays owing to bad weather or breakdowns, and intermittent refrigeration followed by exposure to high temperatures and relatively small produce shipments. Even though changes are made in packaging and handling, and it is unlikely that the overall situation will improve much until road links are established between the producers and the consumers. Okay, so post-harvest treatments. Special uses are the routine package operations such as cleaning, selection, grading, and packaging of produce are discussed in a previous session. Okay, so apart from these, some crops which are seasonal and subjected to long-term storage are highly perishable and transported over long distances to market require special treatment in order to slow deterioration and minimizes the losses. These treatments may be applied before, during, or after packing and are supplementary to the routine measures such as temperature and moisture control, which aim to reduce losses in all the fresh produce. So there is a term curing. Curing is applied to the measures used to prepare starchy staple root crops and onions for long-term storage. The method of curing root crops is, however, quite different from that used on onions. Okay, so root crop curing is the curing of root and tuber crops replaces the strengthened damaged areas of corky skin, restoring the protection against water loss and infection by the decay organisms. The principal crop subjected to curing is the Aries potato, but curing is also effective in some tropical root crops. Okay. Then curing dry bulb onions. The curing of dry bulb onions carried out immediately after harvest is a drying out process Under dry warm conditions, harvested onions are left in the field for a few days until the green tops, outer skins and roots are totally dried. Under wet conditions, it may be necessary to dry onions on racks or trays under cover condition. Okay, the curing of onions is necessary because the necks of the onions are very sensitive to decay if they remain wet, especially if the green tops are cut off before the harvesting. So drying the outer skin of the bulbs reduce decay and water losses, and roots damaged during harvesting are a common entry point for decay unless they are dried quickly. If properly carried out, this technique will provide the necessary warm and moist moisture to aid in healing skin damage, and it can be adapted for other root crops. So, cutting off the green tops of bulb onions is not recommended for small scale producers because it greatly increases the risk of losses from decay if the bulbs cannot be dried quickly under controlled conditions. In large scale commercial production, where the green tops are cut off mechanically before harvest, drying is often carried out using artificial heat with forced ventilation. This technique is not economical for small scale production. Field dried onions can be stored up to 2 months under ambient condition in well ventilated trays or pallets or in a field windbreak. Dried onions should never be allowed to come into contact with the damp soil. Then inhibition of sprouting. Sprouting of both potatoes and onions is a problem in temperate countries. When they are stored for up to 8 months, long-term storage may not be necessary in warmer climates where growers may produce more than one crop a year. There are two methods are employed for reducing the sprouting. Number one is the selection of varieties with long dormancy periods. Suppliers of seed and planting material can be asked to provide information on the storage characteristics of varieties produced under the local conditions. And second one is the use of chemical sprout suppressant for potatoes and onions to be stored. Some suppressants have to be applied by the growing crop before harvesting. For example, maleic hydrazide. Others such as technazine are mixed as a dust or granules with potatoes as they are loaded into the store. Suppressants are rarely used except in large scale production and storage, and they should be used only after consultation with extension workers. Little is known about the effectiveness of sprout suppressants when used on tropical root and tuber crops. Next is the fungicide application. Post-harvest application of fungicides to control decay is used on several major crops which are either stored or undergo long periods of transport to distant markets, and fungicides are normally used only to produce which is washed and drained dry before packaging. Then application method of fungicides are, it may be by spray or mist, by drenching. Drenching is nothing but a simple mechanized recirculating system pumps fungicide in a cascade over produce, passing beneath it on a belt conveyor or a roller conveyor. This system has no spray nozzle to wear out or become blocked, and the high flow rate through the pump keeps the mixture agitated, and it may be necessary to add a non-foaming wetting agent in the suspension to counteract possible drag out of the fungicide if foaming occurs. Next method is dipping. By just dipping the onion or potatoes in the fungicide solution, and you will prevent the sprouting. Then smoke or fumigant. Fungicides can be applied in the form of dust or vapor in the closed containers and or in a sealed bulk stores. Such treatments are relatively rare. Bulk store fumigation requires skilled operation and is normally carried out by the contractors. Hot water fungicide treatment, although hot water drips have known to be effective for the control of post-harvest decay of some tropical fruits, the treatment has not been widely adopted because the difficulty of applying it on a commercial scale. A heated fungicide dip has been shown to control anthracnose and has been used commercially in Australia. The operation requires close technical management and also allows very little margin for error. It is not generally applicable to small scale production. Then controls on fungicide treatment. The use of fungicides after harvest is normally subject to more stringent regulation that would be applied to their use or growing crops. The range of chemicals available for post-harvest treatment of fresh produce is small, with strict limitations on both the concentrations used and the permitted levels of residues on treated produce at the retail or processing stage. Users of post-harvest fungicide must observe that the fungicide of any crop is permissible for use on the crop after harvest, effective in controlling the post-harvest diseases of that crop, then used in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and at their recommended concentrations, then agitated continuously during use to prevent its settling out. Those in charge of operations must make sure that employees using fungicides, okay, observe all the precautions applicable to their use and they wear the necessary protective clothing. Then come to the storage part. So controlled, we can store our fruits and vegetable in the controlled condition. So controlled condition is the term storage as now applied to the fresh produce and is almost automatically assumed to mean the holding of fresh fruits and vegetable under controlled conditions. Although this includes the large-scale storage of some major crops such as potatoes to meet a regular continuous demand and provide a degree of price stabilization. It also meets the demand of populations of developed countries and of the richer inhabitants of developing countries, providing year-round availability of various local and exotic fruits and vegetables. In many developing countries, however, seasonally produced plant foods are held back for sale and released gradually. Storage in a controlled environment is not possible because of the cost and the lack of infrastructural development and of maintenance and managerial skills. Even in developed countries, however, there are still many people who, for their own consumption, preserve and store fresh produce by traditional methods. Then storage potential. For that, much fresh produce cannot be stored without refrigeration, but the possibilities for extending the storage life of even the most durable fresh produce under ambient conditions are limited. So organs of survival. The organs of survival, which form the edible parts of many crops such as Irish potatoes, yams, beets, carrots, and onions, have a definite period of dormancy after harvesting and before they resume growth, at which the time their food values declines. This period of dormancy can usually be extended to give the longest possible storage if appropriate conditions are provided. This factor is called the storage potential. It is important to recognize the variation in the storage potential of different cultivars of the same crop. Experienced local grower and seed suppliers can usually provide information on this subject. Next point is edible reproductive part. Those are largely confined to the fruits or seeds of leguminous plants, especially peas and beans. In their fresh condition, these products have a brief storage life, which can be only slightly extended by refrigeration. And they can also be dried and then are called pulses. Pulses have a strong storage life, provided they are kept dry and do not present a storage problem of the short affecting fresh produce. Next is the fresh fruits and vegetables, and these include the green leafy vegetables, fresh fleshy fruits, and modified flower parts. For example, cauliflower, pineapple. The storage potential of these is very limited under ambient condition and they quickly deteriorate because of their fast respiration rates, which cause rapid heat buildup and depletion of their high moisture content. Traditional methods of preservation are sun drying or simple domestic processing into conserves and pickles. Most fresh fruits and vegetables have a storage life of only a few days under even the best environmental conditions. Next is the factors affecting storage life. The natural limits to the post-harvest life of all types of fresh fruits and vegetables are severely affected by other biological and environmental conditions. Okay, so number one is temperature. For temperature, increase in temperature can cause an increase in the rate of natural breakdown of all the produce of as food reserves and water content become depleted. The cooling of produce will extend its life by slowing down the rate of breakdown. Next is water loss. High temperature and injuries to produce can greatly increase the loss of water from stored produce beyond that unavoidably lost from natural causes. Maximum storage life can be achieved by storing only undamaged produce at the lowest temperature tolerable by the crop. Next factor is mechanical damage, and damage caused during harvesting and subsequent handling increases the rate of deterioration of produce and renders it liable to attack the microorganisms. Mechanical damage to root crops will cause heavy losses owing to bacterial decay and must be remedied by curing the roots or tubers before storage. Curing is wound healing process. Next is the decay in storage, and decay of fresh produce during storage is mostly caused by infection and of mechanical injuries. Furthermore, many fruits and vegetables are attacked by decay organisms which penetrate through natural openings or even through the intact skin. These infections may be established during the growth of the plant in the field, but lie dormant until after harvest, often becoming visible during the storage or ripening. Then preservation methods for fruits and vegetables and root crops. So in most of the countries, the production of many perishable food crops is seasonal and making them available only during short periods of time, short periods of the year. During the short time, they are produced in greater quantity than the market can absorb. So the surplus of many of these crops must be processed and preserved to avoid wastage of food and loss of income of the grower to the grower. Then modern methods of food storage and preservation such as refrigeration, freezing are now widely used in the developed countries. And these methods are, however, rare in many of the developing countries. But surpluses of many seasonal local groups can be preserved for later use by processing methods requiring only one simple and inexpensive equipment. So the principles of fresh produce processing is, number one is enzymes. These complex chemicals are present in very small amounts in all living organ material, and all living activities are under their control, and they continue to the function after harvest, causing a natural breakdown of fresh produce. And enzymes in fresh produce must be destroyed if the processed product is to be stored. And another factor is the microorganism, and these are the molds, yeast, and bacteria which can attack the and decompose both living and dead animal, plants, and animals, and they are active spoilage agent of preserved produce. And if they are not destroyed or inactivated, they can render it poisonous by their activities. Okay, so in today's session, we will discuss all about the what we discussed, storage condition and post-harvest treatment to enhance the shelf life of the fresh fruits and vegetable, and its transportation and storage conditions. So the question may be asked like, explain the post-harvest treatments to enhance the shelf life of the fruits and vegetable, explain the transportation of fruits and vegetable, and explain the storage conditions which are given to enhance the shelf life of the fruits and vegetable. Likewise, questions will be asked in your exam. And for MCQ or objective questions, the question may be asked like, what is malic hydrazide is used for dash in onions and potatoes. So you have to answer like for sprouting. Okay, these kind of question will be asked in your exam. Hope this session is clear to all. Then thank you so much for watching this video.